trusted news source, ABC6 News at Noon.
Right now at noon, we begin with the forecast as we take a live look over Providence right now with our SkyCam HD. There are some bitter cold temperatures on the way. In fact, I'm feeling the pre-cold, Chelsea, just knowing how cold it is going to be out there tomorrow. Chelsea in the Weather Center with much more on that forecast.
Big story. And we are looking at some of our coolest temperatures that we've experienced yet. We have gusty winds out of the northwest right now, coming in out of the northwest, continuing to bring in cool temperatures. And if you were with us during Good Morning Providence, we talked about lake-enhanced snow that may make its way all the way to Rhode Island from the Great Lakes. And that is happening. There's been a few flurries around. That breeze is also making us feel cooler than the actual temperatures. Wind chills right now in the teens for inland locations, 20s as you look through Providence, Newport, and New Bedford at the moment. By tomorrow morning, our wind chills will be hovering on either side of 0 degrees. Satellite radar image shows you a few of those flurries that I'm talking about. All of that, again, coming in, streaming from the Great Lakes. You can see with the north-northwest breeze how that makes its way all the way here. Again, that's also bringing in really chilly temperatures. A lot of clouds out there, some pops of sun. As we head through the night, the temperatures drop pretty quickly. By tomorrow morning, single digits in teens, and again, wind chills around 0. I'll let you know when we start to warm up in just a few minutes. Doreen?
All right, Chelsea, thank you. And we are following developing news out of East Providence today. Police investigating a deadly one-car crash. This happened on Warren Avenue around 1 o'clock this morning. The driver pronounced dead at the scene. The cause of the crash is still under investigation. And a Somerset woman killed in a wrong-way crash on Route 24 in Berkeley yesterday. This happened about 1:40 a.m. State troopers saw a car traveling north on the southbound side before callers reported a car hit a tractor trailer. This was right near exit 13. That's the old exit 10. State police say 40-year-old Sarah Paulo was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of that tractor trailer was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. And new at noon today, a Providence woman arrested for wage theft and check fraud. State police say Patricia Kennedy, the owner of And Celebrate LLC, failed to pay over $22,000 in wages to a former employee between 2018 and 2019. Then last March, police say Kennedy issued 3 checks to that former employee, totaling the $22,000, but all 3 checks bounced. That's when the employee contacted authorities. Kennedy will be arraigned later this month. And now to our continuing coverage of the coronavirus. Schools across Rhode Island reopening this morning with new quarantine guidelines in place. The state's Department of Education is adopting new CDC guidance that allows for a 5-day quarantine if students or staff who test positive have no symptoms or resolving ones. Schools can also implement a monitor to stay for close contacts instead of sending them home or requiring testing. And one interesting element as schools navigate these changes is school lunches. The CDC's new 5-day guidance says those leaving quarantine must be vigilant about mask use, which of course isn't possible while eating. So here's how East Greenwich High School is handling it. Students who tested positive and returned to school after 5 days are encouraged to sit at the far end of the cafeteria. And ABC6 has learned that the Providence Teachers Union will meet with the superintendent and district leadership today to review the state's new isolation and quarantine guidance. Union has been advocating for distance learning to be part of the plan in the city, saying that attendance in some classes is falling below 50%. And 2 state-run test sites in Rhode Island are relocating today. The site at the Cumberland Stop and Shop is moving to the former Ann and Hope, and the site in Woonsocket is moving to the Woonsocket Elks Lodge on Social Street. Anyone who scheduled a test at the old locations for today should go to that new spot to be tested. And in Massachusetts, the booster shot will now be required for nursing home staff. Workers in nursing homes and assisted living facilities need to get boosted by February 28th. The State Department of Health says medical and religious exemptions will be considered. The order also applies to the Holyoke Soldiers Home. And Massachusetts is also changing the way it reports COVID hospitalization data. Starting today, hospitals will divide COVID hospitalizations into 2 categories: those admitted primarily because of the virus, and those who are being treated for something else but test positive. Massachusetts currently has more than 2,600 hospitalized COVID patients. Meanwhile, Massachusetts is extending the mask mandate for K-12 public schools. It's now in place through the end of February at least. It was set to expire at the end of this week. The announcement from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Commissioner Jeffrey Riley comes as cases surge in the state due to the Omicron variant. And all across the country, hospitals continue to fill up, nearing a pandemic high, with the increase in hospitalizations adding to the strain on already overwhelmed medical staff. ABC's Ika Jachi has more.
Today, Chicago students are staying home for a fourth day in a row due to ongoing negotiations between the city and the teachers union. The city's mayor determined to return students to the classroom right away. Teachers refusing to come to work until changes are made. Their union negotiating for a masking policy, a district-wide testing program, and the option to return to full remote learning that could be triggered if there's a surge in COVID cases. Right now, union officials are proposing students begin virtual learning on Wednesday with a return to in-person classes on January 18th.
And hopefully produce confidence that we're not talking about a long, indefinite period where schools are remote.
But it's not just Chicago. The highly contagious Omicron variant affecting school districts all across the country. 90 schools in Philadelphia will be closed this week, as will school districts in Detroit, Michigan, Newark, New Jersey, and Cleveland, Ohio, among many others. Those districts electing to go back to remote learning due to the surge in the virus and teacher shortages. Yet, many health experts say in-person learning is safe.
If people wear high quality masks, even without those other upgrades, which I would like to see, it still is safe for kids and teachers to be back in schools.
For hospitals, the rapid spread of the Omicron variant straining medical staffs. More than 130,000 people are currently hospitalized, just shy of a pandemic high. The demand for testing also rising, but new reporting suggests the shortage in testing kits will continue. ABC News learning the Biden administration's plan to send 500 million at-home COVID tests to Americans is still expected to be weeks away. Unlikely to come in time for the current surge sweeping across the country. Ika Jachi, ABC News, Washington.
And the New England Patriots know their first-round playoff opponent, and it is a familiar foe. The Pats will travel to Buffalo to face the Bills for the third time this season, Saturday night. This time, it's win or go home. The AFC East rivals split their two regular season meetings, each winning the road game in that set. Kickoff is 8:15 Saturday night. Well, still to come here on ABC6 News at noon, more than a dozen people killed in a massive apartment fire in New York City. Well, authorities now say sparked those flames. Plus, new details in the Rust shooting investigation, why Alec Baldwin is now shutting down rumors that he's refusing to cooperate. And believe it or not, sales of luxury cars skyrocketed in 2021. Why so many people were buying them. Back now with some developing news out of New York City, where 19 people have died in a massive fire that broke out in a Bronx apartment building. 9 of those victims are children. 13 other people are fighting for their lives in the hospital. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
At least 19 are dead, including 9 children, in what officials are calling the deadliest fire in New York City in more than 30 years.
Fire is on the 3rd floor of a 19-story occupied MD.
The flames breaking out in this high-rise Bronx apartment building Sunday just before 11 a.m. An open apartment door allowing the thick, heavy smoke to rapidly engulf all 19 floors.
My kids just scream and say fire, fire. So I told everybody get out.
Over a dozen still fighting for their lives after the smoke from the fire quickly spread. More than 200 firefighters rushing to save those who were trapped.
Many of them, their oxygen tanks were on empty. But instead of turning back and exiting the building, they pushed through the smoke.
Many residents even jumping into action themselves to help their neighbors.
I told her, you're not safe in your house. Come into my house. We went inside my bedroom because it was better for us to breathe.
It was just all about help whoever you can help. It got to a point where it was just so much black smoke in the house, we could barely see each other.
Officials say a space heater ignited a mattress in a 3rd-floor apartment, causing this tragedy. Now authorities are investigating the building. So far, they say it appears there were no known issues. A main focus, that open door. In 2018, the city passing a law mandating self-closing doors in all apartment buildings.
We're going to go through this building. We're going to go in, use this as an example of how do we fix this so it doesn't happen again.
And dozens of families are now left without their homes. The governor organizing a victims fund to help them secure housing and move forward. Rena Roy, ABC News, the Bronx, New York.
And now to the Rust shooting. Alec Baldwin shutting down rumors that he isn't cooperating with the investigation. The actor firing the gun that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Last month, Santa Fe authorities obtaining a warrant to search and seize the actor's cell phone. Baldwin is now explaining why, weeks later, he still hasn't turned over his phone to officials.
You've got to go through the state you live in. That is a process that takes time. They have to specify what exactly they want. You can't just go through your phone and take, your photos or your love letters to your wife or what have you. I really don't know, but of course, we are 1,000% going to comply with all that.
Officials in New Mexico say they are actively working with authorities in New York and Baldwin's lawyers to get that cell phone data, but it could still be months before the investigation is wrapped up and criminal charges can be considered. Well, still to come, some big news from the world of baseball. We're going to introduce you to the minor league's first female manager. And tragedy in the comedy world, the man known as America's Dad, Bob Saget, has died. We have reaction from those who knew him best. Well, despite the ongoing pandemic, sales of luxury cars skyrocketed last year. The reason, because COVID restricted travel, wealthy consumers had more disposable income, which many spent on luxury cars rather than things like vacations. BMW reported record sales of over 2.2 million vehicles in 2021, crushing sales from 2019. More than 1,300 flights canceled Sunday due to COVID. Tens of thousands of flights have been canceled since Christmas when the Omicron variant started to become more widespread. The rapidly spreading infection has also impacted the cruise industry. Royal Caribbean canceled 4 trips Friday, and Norwegian canceled 8 earlier last week.
And now, your ABC6 Storm Tracker weather with meteorologist Chelsea Priest.
Oh, we saw a mix of some sun and clouds very early this morning, but with gusty winds coming in from the northwest, you're actually seeing some lake-enhanced flurries at a few spots. These are very light, just a couple little isolated snow showers here and there, but that's all the way where that's coming from, and it's because of the wind that's from the north and west. That breeze from the northwest is going to continue to bring in cooler temperatures as we head through the day today, and especially through tonight. Right now, we're in the upper 20s and low 30s, which is a significant drop from where we were yesterday at this time. Most spots yesterday made it into the 40s, so we're running 10 to 15 degrees cooler right now compared to yesterday, and well below average for this time of year. 38 degrees is where we should be maxing out. Instead, we're in the upper 20s and low 30s as we head into the afternoon hours. But tomorrow, I have a high of only 15 degrees, which is well below average, well below the average low for this time of year. So some bitterly cold temperatures coming into play, all thanks to the breeze from the northwest. 5 to 15 miles per hour outside right now. Still some gusts in the 20 to 25 mile per hour range. The winds are backing down a bit, but with cold temperatures like this that we have tonight, even just a light breeze makes us feel so much cooler. Right now, inland spots have wind chills that are in the teens. Most of us have wind chills in the low to mid 20s. By tomorrow morning, those wind chills are going to be down into the single digits, closer to 0 degrees. The trend is down as we head through tonight. Temperatures are dropping through the rest of the afternoon. By 10 p.m., we're in the low 20s with feel-like temperatures in the low teens. And again, we'll continue to see those temperatures and wind chills dropping as we head through tonight and into tomorrow morning. Loop over the past 6 hours shows you the light snow developing all the way from the Great Lakes. You typically see this up in New York in the Buffalo area. Instead, you're seeing snow showers that are making their way into western Mass, and a few have hung on all the way to Rhode Island outside this morning. Now, as we head through the afternoon, mix of sun and clouds with breezy conditions and cold air settling in. Hour by hour, what we're looking at is partly sunny skies through the afternoon. Sun sets around 4:30. Overnight, there may still be a few little isolated snow showers out there. Tomorrow is full of sunshine, but it's going to be bitterly cold, dangerous cold in some locations, especially with the wind factored in. And as we head into Wednesday, you end up with partly to mostly sunny conditions. A cold start to the day. The wind shifts, though, and will be much warmer by Wednesday afternoon. By warmer, I mean upper 30s, not a heat wave or anything, but significantly warmer than the temperatures that we have in the coming days. Upper 20s today. It's a breezy day, mix of some sun and clouds. Overnight, we dip down to about 10 degrees. Feel like temperatures on either side of 0 degrees. Be careful out there. If you're out for an extended amount of time, it can become dangerous. We're looking at teens tomorrow for highs. Feel like temperatures staying around 0 pretty much all day tomorrow. By 11 p.m., again, those wind chills tonight in the low teens. By tomorrow morning on either side of 0 degrees, and we don't get much better through the day tomorrow. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. A feel-like temperature of 2 degrees out there tomorrow. Now, into Wednesday morning, the breeze backs down a bit, and it starts to shift. You can see along the coastline, temperatures are already starting to come up a bit, and by Wednesday afternoon, we should be making it into the upper 30s, which is seasonable for this time of year. Low 40s on Friday, a little bit cooler as we head into the end of the week and the weekend. Doreen?
All right, Chelsea, thank you. Well, minor league baseball has its first female manager. Rachel Falkovec has been hired to manage the Tampa Tarpons. They're affiliated with the New York Yankees. The move comes after the Yankees hired her in 2019 as the first woman to be a full-time hitting coach in a Major League Baseball organization. Before that, the 34-year-old worked with the Houston Astros, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Chicago White Sox. Coming up, reaction from the world of comedy as the sudden passing of Bob Saget shakes the industry. We'll have the very latest. Plus, a special moment for 16 lucky children as they were baptized by none other than the Pope himself. We're going to take you to that ceremony coming up. Bob Saget, the comedian and actor known as America's Dad for his role on Full House, found dead in his hotel room in Florida. ABC's Victor Oquendo has the latest.
This one hits close to home. For so many in my generation, we grew up with Bob Saget as our TV dad, and kids today, they have the chance to watch him play that iconic role of Danny Tanner all over again in Fuller House. His work may not have always been so family-friendly, but there is no doubt he left his mark on millions. He earned the nickname America's Dad, a quick-witted actor, comic, and host with a multitude of talents. Bob Saget won hearts as Danny Tanner, a widowed dad raising 3 daughters in San Francisco on ABC's long-running sitcom Full House. Overnight, the comedic legend passing away in a hotel in Orlando where he was in the middle of a comedy tour that began in September. The circumstances of his death remain unclear, but detectives say they found no signs of foul play or drug use. In his final tweet posted yesterday, Saget writing, "Love tonight's show. I had no idea I did a 2-hour set tonight. I'm happily addicted again to this." His sudden death shocking fans and colleagues. "I am broken, I am gutted," wrote his Full House co-star John Stamos. "I am in complete and utter shock. I will never, ever have another friend like him. I love you so much, Bobby." Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen echoing, "Bob was the most loving, compassionate, and generous man." He was 65 years old. Authorities have released few details into exactly what happened here at that hotel room. The medical examiner will be investigating to determine the cause of death. Victor Oquendo, ABC News, Orlando.
Still to come, the holiest of baptisms performed by the Pope at the Sistine Chapel. Plus, Chelsea has another look at your afternoon forecast right after this. We'll talk about a special baptism. 16 children were lucky enough to be baptized by none other than Pope Francis inside the Sistine Chapel. Talk about splendor. The pontiff told their parents their duty was to preserve the Christian identity of their children. The tradition, which goes back to Pope John Paul II, was canceled last year because of the pandemic. Can you imagine the Pope and Sistine Chapel, Chelsea? My goodness. I hope those kids don't have siblings because they'll win
Yeah,
for
there's
that story.
No way you're going to beat that baptism.
No chopping that one.
No chance. We are looking at bitterly cold temperatures settling in as we head through tonight, through the day tomorrow, into tomorrow night before we slowly start to get back into some seasonable temperatures, at least on Wednesday, into the upper 30s. Overnight, when we dip down into the low teens, it'll be breezy still, so we'll feel more like 0 degrees, and it doesn't get much better through the day tomorrow. Bitter cold all day long with feel-like temperatures in the single digits. Overnight again into Wednesday, it's very cold. Then we get into the upper 30s on Wednesday, low 40s on Thursday, and we'll be watching a system offshore on Friday, but some cooler temperatures moving in for the weekend. Dory?
All right, really not looking forward to that, Chelsea. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us for the news at noon. The news continues first at 4. Have a great afternoon, everybody.